The great throne room of the alien palace was filled with silence. Tall stone walls glowed faintly with strange symbols, and hundreds of alien guards stood lined up, their golden armor shining under the light. In the middle of the hall sat the alien queen, her crown heavy with power, her eyes sharp as blades. Everyone bowed except one figure, the human soldier. The soldier's name was Daniel. He was young but scarred from battles. His uniform was torn at the edges, showing he was not from this world. Aliens looked at him with contempt, whispering among themselves. To them, humans were fragile creatures, short-lived, weak in body, and unworthy of royal halls. Yet the queen had summoned him, not them. Daniel walked forward, his boots echoing on the marble floor. He did not bow. He simply stood tall. His human pride would not let him bend to those who mocked his kind. The air grew tense as the queen slowly raised her hand. "Human," she spoke, her voice calm yet heavy. "I have chosen you for a duty no one else can fulfill." Her words sent shock through the court. Many alien generals shouted in protest. "Your Majesty, this is madness," one growled. "Our warriors are bred for protection. Why give this honor to a weak human?" But the queen silenced them with a single glare. Her eyes returned to Daniel. "You will protect my daughter, the princess, from this day onward." Daniel froze. He had expected many things: punishment, banishment, maybe even death. But this command was beyond belief. Protecting a royal heir was a task that meant trust, honor, and danger. He looked at the queen confused. "Why me?" he asked, his voice steady but low. The queen's gaze softened only for a moment. "Because you are human, and that is exactly why." The whispers grew louder. The court was filled with anger. Some called it an insult, others a dangerous joke. The alien princess herself, Ted to the side, rose to her feet in shock. Her violet eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. "Mother, this is unacceptable. How can a human guard me? They are fragile. They cannot survive the threats that stalk our halls." Daniel looked at her, meeting her gaze without fear. He did not speak, but his silence was louder than words. The queen raised her hand once more, ending the chaos. "The choice is mine alone," she declared. "Our enemies grow bold. Shadows move across the empire. They will come for my daughter, and I will not trust her life to prideful warriors who underestimate what they do not understand." Her voice grew harder. "This human will protect her, and no one will question it." The court fell silent. The alien generals lowered their heads, though anger still burned in their eyes. The princess sat back down, fuming. Daniel felt the weight of countless stares pressing on him. He was unwanted, untrusted, and yet chosen. Later, in the quiet of a smaller chamber, Daniel stood before the queen alone. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You wonder why I chose you," she said. "I will not tell you all, not yet, but know this. Humans carry something the rest of the galaxy has forgotten. Your kind survives where others fall, and my daughter will need that spirit more than she knows." Daniel clenched his fists. He had fought for survival many times, but this was different. This was not a battle he could win with guns or fists. This was responsibility, and responsibility was heavier than any armor. The queen stepped closer, her eyes glimmering with both sorrow and hope. "Protect her, human. Not only from blades and poison, but from herself. She will resist you, she will insult you, but one day she may understand. If you succeed, your life will never be the same again." Daniel nodded, not fully understanding but feeling the truth in her words. His heart pounded. This was not just duty, it was the beginning of something larger, something that would change not only his life but maybe the fate of empires. When he left the chamber, the alien princess stood waiting in the next morning, the palace awoke under a heavy sky. The alien banners fluttered outside, their colors bright, but the air inside the royal halls felt tense. Every servant and guard whispered about the queen's strange choice. A human protector, they said, was a disgrace to the royal family, but none dared speak too loudly, for fear of the queen's wrath. Daniel, the human soldier, walked with steady steps. His boots clicked softly against polished floors. His eyes scanned every shadow. His senses were sharp, trained by countless battles on harsh human worlds. To him, this palace was beautiful but dangerous. Each hallway could hide a knife. Each smiling servant could hide betrayal. The alien princess, Arya, was less impressed. She walked ahead of him, her chin high, her silver gown trailing like flowing water. Her beauty was unmatched, her aura regal, but her voice carried venom. "Stay at a distance, human," she said coldly. "I do not want you near me. People already laugh at me for this foolish decision. Do not make it worse by acting like you belong here." Daniel said nothing. He had learned long ago that silence could cut deeper than words. Still, he followed, his eyes never leaving her. For every glare she threw at him, he answered with calm focus. That irritated her more than insults ever could. They entered the grand garden, where alien flowers glowed in strange colors. Exotic birds with crystal wings flew overhead, yet beauty could not erase danger. Hidden among the vines and statues, a shadow moved. Daniel noticed it instantly. Arya sat on a marble bench, crossing her legs with elegance. "Tell me, human," she mocked, "do you truly believe you can protect me? My guards are stronger, faster, trained from birth. You are nothing but a fragile creature of bone and short years." Before Daniel could reply, a soft hiss cut through the air. A thin dart flew toward Bumps. The princess silent and deadly, Daniel moved without thought. His arm shot up, catching the dart in midair. The sharp tip cut into his hand, blood dripping, but he did not flinch. Arya gasped, her violet eyes wide. For the first time she looked at him not with hate, but with shock. He dropped the dart to the ground, crushing it under his boot, his voice calm. "Your guards did not see this. Your eyes did not see this. But mine did." Within moments, shadows leapt from the garden walls. Masked assassins with curved blades. They moved with alien speed, yet Daniel reacted faster. He grabbed a broken branch from the ground, spinning it like a staff. The first assassin lunged, but Daniel sidestepped, striking the attacker's temple with brutal precision. Another came from behind, but Daniel ducked low, sweeping the legs out with one swift strike. Arya froze, unable to believe what she was seeing. Her alien guards, who had been stationed nearby, rushed in too late. By the time they arrived, 3 assassins lay unconscious at Daniel's feet. His chest rose and fell with steady breaths, blood still dripping from his cut hand. One guard shouted angrily, "You dare touch the princess's attackers? That was our duty." His pride was wounded, not his concern for her safety. But the queen herself arrived, her robes flowing, her eyes filled with fire. She looked first at her daughter, unharmed, then at Daniel, bloodied, but standing strong. "Enough," the queen commanded. Her gaze swept across the guards, silencing them. "He has done what you could not. He has proven why he was chosen." Arya's lips trembled, but her pride would not let her admit what she felt. She stood, turning away quickly. "Do not think this changes anything, human. You may have saved me today, but I still do not accept you." Her voice was sharp, but her steps were unsteady as she walked off. Daniel watched her leave, his face calm. Inside, his thoughts burned. If assassins could reach this deep into the palace, then the threat was far greater than he imagined. Someone powerful wanted her dead, and they would not stop. Later that night, as Daniel cleaned the cut on his hand, he heard the queen's words echo in his mind. Protect her, not only from blades and poison, but from herself. He now understood. The princess's pride blinded her, but her enemies were merciless. She needed him more than she knew. Outside, hidden beyond the palace walls, a hooded figure watched the stars. "The human interferes," the figure hissed. "But he will not stop us. The princess must die. For her survival means the survival of something far more dangerous, humanity's spirit." And so, the shadow of war grew darker. Daniel's duty was no longer just protection. It was survival. It was the beginning of a storm that would shake the galaxy. The palace never slept. Guards marched in silence. Shadows stretched across endless corridors, but Daniel could feel it. The weight of unseen eyes. Someone was watching. Someone was waiting. After the attack in the garden, security had doubled. Yet Daniel knew more soldiers would not stop the real danger. The assassins had moved with precision. Their weapons were crafted with poison meant to kill instantly. This was not the work of common criminals. It was the work of powerful hands hidden in the dark. That night, Daniel searched the broken dart he had caught. He studied its metal, the strange markings burned into its shaft. The alien guards had dismissed it as ordinary, but to him, the design told a different story. It was not of the Queen's empire. It belonged to an enemy faction known for rebellion and blood. The next morning, Daniel followed his instincts, while the princess strolled with arrogance, pretending not to care for his presence. He quietly scanned every corner. He noticed subtle patterns, strange servants who avoided his gaze, guards who shifted their posts too often, messages carried in hurried whispers. The palace was bleeding secrets and nobody but him seemed to see it. Arya, the princess, grew irritated. "Why do you look around like a frightened beast?" She snapped. "This is my home. These halls are safe." Daniel turned to her, his voice calm. No hall is safe when its shadows whisper louder than its guards. She frowned, ready to mock him again, but something in his steady tone silenced her. For the first time, she wondered if maybe he saw what others could not. That evening, Daniel wandered into the archive chambers. The walls were filled with glowing tablets that held centuries of records. He searched quietly, ignoring the angry looks of alien scholars. He found ancient entries describing humans, long before their worlds were forgotten by the stars. The text spoke of humans as unpredictable predators, survivors of death worlds, carriers of chaos and hope. The words unsettled him. Were these stories myth, or had the Queen known this truth all along? Before he could study further, a hand grabbed his arm. It was an alien guard, his eyes sharp with suspicion. "You do not belong here, human. This is forbidden knowledge." Daniel did not fight back. He let the guard drag him out, but deep inside his suspicion hardened. Why would they hide records of humans? What truth was the Queen not sharing? Later, as Daniel walked the dark corridors, he caught sight of a figure slipping into a hidden passage. Silent as a hunter, he followed. The tunnel twisted beneath the palace, damp and filled with strange symbols. At the end, he found a group of cloaked figures speaking in low tones. "The princess must not live past the next cycle," one whispered. "If she survives, the Queen's plan will succeed. And with a human by her side, it will be unstoppable." Daniel's heart pounded. He listened closer. "The galaxy must not remember what humanity truly is. If the human survives long enough to awaken his nature, the balance of power will shatter." His blood ran cold. They feared him, not just as a soldier, but as something far more. He realized the Queen's command was not simply about protection, it was about destiny. Suddenly, the cloaked figures turned. Sensing movement, Daniel slipped back into the shadows, but a dagger flew past his shoulder, cutting the wall. He sprinted through the tunnels, the sound of footsteps chasing him. He burst back into the palace halls, his chest heaving. The princess saw him, her eyes narrowing. "What chaos do you bring now?" she demanded. Daniel wiped the sweat from his brow, his voice low but sharp. "Your enemies are closer than you think. They are not just outside the palace. They are inside it." Arya froze, her pride colliding with fear. She wanted to dismiss his words, but the look in his eyes was unshakable. For the first time, she felt the walls of her own palace closing in. That night, Daniel stood guard outside her chamber. His hand rested on his weapon, his thoughts restless. Somewhere in the darkness of the Empire, a plan was moving, a plan tied not only to the princess but to him. And in the far reaches of space, in a hidden fleet cloaked in shadows, alien warlords gathered around a star map. One of them pointed to a human world glowing on the chart. "If the Queen's human guardian survives long enough, their kind will rise again. We must end him before that happens." The shadows of the Empire had awakened, and Daniel stood unknowingly at the center of a storm that could destroy or save them all. The palace council had decided the princess must attend the Festival of Unity, a grand ceremony held outside the capital. It was tradition, a display of strength to the Empire, yet, to Daniel, it felt like walking into a trap. He could almost smell danger hidden beneath the music and lights. Arya, the princess, wore a crown of silver leaves, her gown shining like starlight. Her pride was unshaken. "Do not embarrass me, human," she whispered coldly. "This is my people's sacred night. Do not act like a frightened beast sniffing shadows." Daniel said nothing, but his eyes never stopped moving. He studied the crowd, the guards, the entertainers. Every step he took was measured, every movement calculated. He had learned to trust instincts on death worlds, and his instincts screamed that something was wrong. The celebration began with music. Alien dancers twirled, fires burned in glass bowls, the air filled with sweet scents. To outsiders it was beauty, but Daniel's gaze found the cracks. Nervous guards avoiding eye contact, hands slipping beneath cloaks, a servant carrying more than wine in his tray. Then it happened. A sudden flicker of light, the music faltered. From the shadows of the festival tents, masked assassins appeared, their blades glistening with poison. Their target was clear, the princess. Arya gasped. Her guards rushed forward, but chaos spread too fast. Daniel moved before anyone else. His body collided with hers, pulling her down behind a fallen statue. A blade sliced the air where her throat had been a moment earlier. She looked at him in shock. "You saved me?" But Daniel had no time for words. He ripped a spear from a stunned alien guard and spun it like it was part of him. His movements were raw, not graceful, but each strike was precise. He crushed one assassin's mask with a brutal blow, spun, and sent the spear flying into another's chest. Arya watched in disbelief. Her alien guards fought with trained elegance, but their discipline slowed them. Daniel's chaos made him faster. His instincts were not polished. They were wild. Unpredictable, unstoppable. Still, the assassins pressed harder, surrounding them. Daniel's body shielded Arya. He took a slash across his arm but did not flinch, his voice rough. "Stay behind me, no matter what." The princess trembled, her pride breaking under fear. She had mocked him for being weak, fragile, yet here he stood, bleeding but unyielding, facing death without hesitation. For the first time, she felt something unfamiliar: trust. The attackers closed in. One leapt high with twin blades aimed for Daniel's chest. At the last second, he ducked low, pulling Arya with him, and drove his elbow into the assassin's stomach. The alien crumpled, gasping. Daniel turned, slamming his boot into another's jaw. The fight seemed endless, but slowly the tide shifted. The assassins faltered, realizing this human would not fall, not even under numbers. When the last one tried to retreat, Daniel hurled a broken blade with deadly aim, striking the assassin down before he could vanish into the night. Silence fell. The festival grounds were in ruins, broken glass and torn banners scattered in the firelight. Arya stood, her hands shaking. She looked at Daniel, bloodied, breathing heavily but alive. "You are not like the others," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You fight like no one I have ever seen." Daniel wiped the blood from his arm, his eyes sharp. "I fight to survive. That is what humans do." Her pride wanted to deny it, but her heart could not. She had seen with her own eyes the truth. Her alien guards, trained from birth, had failed, yet the human, mocked as weak, had saved her again. When they returned to the palace, the queen awaited them. Her eyes studied her daughter first, unharmed, then Daniel, wounded but alive. A faint smile touched her lips. "Now you begin to understand why I chose him," she said softly to Arya. Arya lowered her gaze, silence her only answer. For the first time, her arrogance had cracked, and through it, a small seed of respect had begun to grow. But Daniel's mind was heavy. This was no random attack. The assassins had known exactly where and when to strike. The conspiracy was deeper than he imagined. Shadows moved not only outside the empire, they were inside the queen's very court. That night, as Daniel stood guard outside Arya's chamber, he heard her voice from within, faint but clear. Maybe my mother was right about him." Daniel gripped his weapon tighter. His body ached, his blood stained his clothes, but his resolve burned stronger. This was no longer just duty. This was survival, trust, and a war waiting to break open. Far across the stars, a council of alien warlords received word of the failed attempt. Their leader hissed, "The human resists. He protects the girl too well. If he survives longer, our plans will shatter. We must break him before the queen's destiny becomes real." And so the shadows grew darker. The next trial would be deadlier. The galaxy was preparing to test not only the human's strength, but his very soul. The palace was quiet after the festival attack, but Daniel knew silence was never safety. It was only the pause before another storm. The assassins had failed, yet their confidence had been bold. Someone powerful was guiding them, someone who knew the queen's every move. Daniel spent the next days in restless patrol, watching the princess, studying the palace. His wounds ached, but he ignored the pain. For every step he took, the whispers of conspiracy grew louder. He noticed messages being exchanged in coded hand signals, strange marks carved into stone walls, and conversations that ended abruptly when he entered a room. The Princess Arya had begun to change. Her arrogance had softened. She still mocked him in public, but her tone was weaker now. She had seen him bleed for her. fight for her, and survive when all odds demanded his death. Her pride battled her heart, yet she found herself walking closer to him than before. One night, the queen summoned Daniel to a hidden chamber. The walls were carved with symbols older than the empire itself. In the center burned a single flame, blue and eternal. She dismissed her guards, leaving only Daniel before her. "You seek answers," the queen said, her voice carrying both weight and sorrow. "It is time you hear them." Daniel bowed his head slightly. "Why me? Why would you trust the life of your daughter to a human? Your own guards see me as weakness. Even your people mock me." The queen stepped closer, her golden crown glinting in the firelight. "Because humans are not weak," she whispered. "They are forgotten, hidden by fear, erased by history. But long ago your kind was known as a race of survivors, warriors who defied extinction, predators who thrived on death worlds where no other species could endure." Daniel frowned, the words stirring something deep within him. "Stories," he said quietly. "Old myths." "No," the queen replied firmly. "Truth. The archives of the empire hide this knowledge. We buried it for fear of what it meant. When humanity fell into silence, the galaxy breathed in relief. We thought your kind had been lost, but now one has risen before me, and I see the spark that once terrified empires." Daniel's heart pounded. His memories of Earth flashed before him. Struggles, wars, survival, pain. His people had always been underestimated, yet they endured. Was that the legacy the queen spoke of? The queen placed a hand on his shoulder. "You think I chose you only as a guardian, but I chose you as a weapon against the storm that comes. My daughter is not only an heir, she is the key to unity. If she lives, our enemies will fail. If she dies, the galaxy will collapse into endless war, and only a human with your will, your defiance, can protect her." Before Daniel could reply, a shadow moved in the chamber, a figure cloaked. In darkness leapt from the ceiling, dagger raised. The queen's guards had been dismissed. It was Daniel alone who stood between her and death. He reacted instantly. His hand shot up, grabbing the assassin's wrist, twisting it until bone cracked. The dagger fell, but another figure rushed from the shadows. Daniel kicked the first attacker into the second, slamming both against the wall. The chamber shook with the struggle. The queen's eyes widened, but she did not move. She was watching, testing. Daniel fought with raw strength and instinct, his fists crushed against alien armor, his body a blur of defiance. Within moments, the attackers lay broken, silent, their blood staining the sacred floor. Breathing heavily, Daniel wiped his face. "Even here, even in your most guarded chamber, they come." The queen's expression was calm, but her voice was sharp. "Yes, and they will keep coming until either you fall or they realize what you truly are." Daniel's chest tightened. "And what am I?" The queen's gaze locked on his. "You are humanity's proof. The galaxy buried your legacy, but it cannot bury your nature. You are the storm they fear." Daniel stood in silence, the weight of her words sinking in. He had been a soldier, a protector, a survivor, but now he understood. He was also a symbol the galaxy would try to kill before it remembered the truth. Later that night, as Daniel guarded the princess's chambers, Arya approached him quietly, her voice softer than ever before. "I heard about the attack. My mother trusts you with secrets she does not even share with me. Why?" Daniel looked at her, his voice steady. "Because she knows the truth of my kind, and soon you will see it too." Arya frowned, a spark of curiosity lighting in her violet eyes. She had always thought humans weak, fragile, yet something about him felt older, deeper, like a shadow of a forgotten power. For the first time, she wondered if her mother's strange faith in this human was not madness, but destiny. Far away in the hidden council of warlords, word of Daniel's survival spread like fire. "He knows," one hissed. "The queen has told him the truth. We cannot allow him to live long enough to awaken what he carries, for if humanity rises again, the galaxy will never belong to us." And so the game of shadows deepened. Daniel was no longer just a protector. He was the echo of a forgotten race, and the spark of something greater than he could yet imagine. The palace felt different. The air was colder, the halls too quiet. Daniel could sense it, a heaviness that pressed against his instincts. Danger was near, but this time it was not hiding outside the walls. It was hiding inside. The queen had gathered her council in the Hall of Stars, a meeting to plan the defense of her empire. Daniel stood at the princess's side, his eyes scanning every corner. His mind replayed the queen's words from nights before. Not only protect her from blades and poison, but from herself. He had begun to understand what she meant. As the council debated, Daniel noticed something strange. One of the queen's most trusted advisors, Lord Kale, avoided his gaze. Kale was tall, with silver skin and golden robes, respected by all. His voice carried weight in every decision, but Daniel's instincts flared whenever the man spoke. Something about his calmness felt false. Hours passed, the council ended, and the queen dismissed her court. Yet Daniel saw Kale slip into the shadows with a group of cloaked figures. His curiosity sharpened into suspicion. That night, Daniel followed quietly, keeping to the darkness, his steps silent as a predator. Through hidden tunnels, he trailed Kale until he reached a chamber lit by red flames. There, Kale bowed to a hooded figure. The words Daniel heard froze his blood. The time has come. The queen will fall tomorrow, and the girl will not live to see the dawn, the hum. And Protector will be sacrificed, his blood proof that humanity was never meant to rise again. Daniel clenched his fist, rage burning inside him, but he forced himself to stay hidden. If he attacked now, he would be killed before warning the queen. He slipped back into the palace, his mind racing. When he returned, Arya was waiting, her eyes narrowed. You disappear too often, human. What secrets do you chase in the dark? Daniel's face was grave, his voice low. The danger is not outside anymore. It is in your mother's council. One of her own has betrayed her. Arya's heart skipped. She wanted to deny it, but his tone carried truth she could not ignore. For the first time she whispered, "Who?" Daniel hesitated. "Kale." Her eyes widened. Kale had been like family, a guide since her childhood. To hear his name was like a wound. "No," she whispered. "It cannot be." But before she could say more, alarms rang across the palace. Explosions shook the ground. The night sky lit with fire. Betrayal had already begun. Daniel pulled Arya close, dragging her through collapsing halls. Alien guards clashed with rebels inside the palace. Servants screamed. Flames rose. The Empire's greatest fortress had become a battlefield. Kale appeared among the chaos, his robes torn, but his voice steady. "Princess, come with me. I will keep you safe." Arya's lips trembled. Her heart wanted to believe him. But Daniel stepped forward, his weapon raised. "He is the one." Kael's smile turned cold. So the human saw clever, but too late. His hand raised, energy crackled, and a hidden blade shot toward Daniel. Daniel twisted, the blade grazing his side, blood spilling. The princess screamed, but Daniel did not fall. He charged, his fists striking with human fury. Kael fought with alien power, each movement sharp, trained, deadly. Yet Daniel's will was stronger. His strikes were not perfect, but they were relentless. Kale sneered, "You think you can stop me? You are nothing but a fragile relic of a forgotten world." Daniel's voice roared, "Then why do you fear me?" With a final strike, he slammed Kale into the burning wall. But Kale laughed even as flames licked his robes. "You may win this night, human, but the war is already here. The galaxy will never allow your kind to rise again." With a final surge of power, Kale vanished into the smoke, escaping into the shadows. Daniel staggered, clutching his wound. Arya rushed to his side, her eyes filled with something new. Not disdain, not mockery, but fear for him. "You are bleeding. You risked everything for me." Daniel's voice was steady. "Your life is my duty. No betrayal will change that." The queen arrived with her guards, her face carved with anger and sorrow. She saw the flames, the bodies, the destruction. Her voice trembled. "I trusted him, and he turned against us." Her gaze shifted to Daniel. "And you, human, stood when even my own failed." Daniel's chest rose and fell, his blood dripping. His strength was nearly gone, but his resolve burned brighter. He had seen betrayal, he had fought against it, and he knew the storm was only beginning. Far beyond the palace, Kyle knelt before the warlords, his body burned but his spirit unbroken. "The human is stronger than we thought, but he bleeds and he will break. We will make sure his destiny ends before it begins." The galaxy's shadow war was no longer hidden. It had entered the Queen's very throne, and in its center stood a wounded human, defiant, unyielding, unbroken. The palace smoldered from betrayal, but the Empire had no time to heal. Scouts rushed to the throne room, reporting fleets gathering at the edge of the system. The warlords were no longer hiding. They had united, a storm of ships blotting out the stars. Their demand was clear: surrender the princess or watch the Empire burn. The Queen stood before her court, her crown tilted but her voice unbroken. "We will not bow," she declared. Yet behind her words the weight of fear pressed upon everyone. Her guards whispered doubt, her generals faltered. Only one figure stood steady: Daniel, blood still staining his clothes but his eyes burning with fire. Arya, the princess, stood beside him. Her voice trembled but carried strength. "Mother, he saved me again and again. Let him lead us." The court gasped. A human leading alien fleets was madness. But the Queen's gaze softened. She had seen what her people refused to see. "Very well," she whispered. "The human will command." Moments later, Daniel stood at the helm of the Queen's flagship. Alien captains glared at him with hatred. "A human cannot lead us," one spat. But Daniel's voice cut through the air, sharp and unyielding. "You think strength is born in bloodlines and titles? You are wrong. Strength is survival. Strength is standing when the galaxy wants you to fall. If you follow me, you may live. If you don't, you will die." Silence. Then slowly the captains lowered their eyes. The Queen's fleet prepared for war. The enemy arrived like a tidal wave, thousands of warships, each glowing with alien fire. Their leader broadcasted across the stars. KL stood at their front, his burns hidden beneath black armor, his voice filled with venom. "Your empire ends tonight, and the human dies with it." The battle began. Fire rained across the void. Explosions shook the stars. Alien fleets clashed. Daniel moved like a man possessed. He read the battlefield not with training but with instinct. He predicted enemy movements, twisted traps against them, turned chaos into strategy. What alien commanders saw as madness was human genius, unpredictable and lethal. Arya watched from her station, awe filling her heart. "He fights like no one else. He sees what others cannot," she whispered. But the enemy pressed harder, their numbers overwhelming. Daniel's fleet faltered. Ships exploded. Cries filled the comms. Then Daniel made the choice no alien would dare. "Pull back from the center," he ordered. "Let them chase, then strike where they think we are weakest." The aliens obeyed reluctantly. The enemy surged forward, believing victory was near. But in that moment, Daniel unleashed the trap. Hidden ships rose from the dark side of the planet, striking the enemy's flank. Explosions lit the void like suns. Kale roared in fury. His ship charged directly for the flagship. He wanted Daniel dead with his own hands. The two vessels collided in fire and steel. The battle moved face to face. Daniel and Kale met in the burning halls of the warship. Their fight was brutal. Kale's strength was alien, his power honed. But Daniel fought with something greater. Every strike carried Earth's forgotten legacy, the stubborn fire of humanity. His fists broke Kale's guard. His rage shattered Kale's pride. "You cannot win," Kale spat, blood spilling. "The galaxy will never allow your kind to rise again." Daniel's voice thundered. "Then the galaxy will learn what it means to face a human." With a final blow, he hurled Kale into the ship's burning core. Flames consumed the traitor, his screams echoing into silence. The enemy fleet faltered, their leader gone, their unity broken. The Queen's forces pressed forward. Victory was theirs. When the flames cleared, Daniel stood, his body torn with wounds, but his spirit unbroken. The Queen bowed before him, shocking her court. "This human has saved not only my daughter but my empire," she declared. "From this day his name will live among the stars." Arya stepped closer, her eyes filled with something new. Not hatred, not pride, but respect, and something deeper. "You were forced to protect me, but you became more than a guardian, and you became my destiny." Daniel looked at her, his voice steady. "I was only a soldier, but now I understand. I was never meant to survive for myself. I was meant to fight so others could." And so the galaxy changed. The forgotten race of humans had risen again, not with fleets or empires, but with one soldier's defiance. His courage had shaken thrones, broken chains, and rewritten fate. The stars themselves seemed to whisper the truth. Humanity was back, and the galaxy would never be the same.